right, so listen, the weather's starting to turn and I want to work on stink bug all through the winter, rust repair, things like that. But I want to do it in here. Now, I just spent the better part of the day cleaning out the shop. Looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. Here's the thing, I also measured. It's gonna be tight. Tight, tight. Both height and length. To be honest with you, length is what I'm mostly concerned about. I think we'll clear the door by a couple inches, but it's like maybe have to take the front bumper off tight on length. But the only way to know for sure is to try. So I think I'm gonna move some rigs around, hop in old Stinky, and try to creep it in here, which is hard because the clutch is weird and it doesn't really have great brakes, and see if it fits, and go from there. We got brake lights to wire, I got a new brake switch, I got valve cover gasket, all sorts of stuff, but I don't want to wrench on it in the rain all winter. I'm up here in the Pacific Northwest, it's October, we're running out of days that aren't wet. So I'd like to see if we get it in the shop. That is the first project. All right, we'll see if we can't get this old girl running. Just try to ease it. We're not gonna drive right in. We're gonna ease in. Need that door to close. I want to let it get warm enough to idle. We're gonna have to play with it, and if it dies every time, it's gonna be extra annoying. I need to turn the idle up a little bit too. Yeah, see, that's idle. It's like 500 RPM. All right, here we go. Oh, I forgot I don't have a parking brake. It's gonna want to roll backwards. That's gonna be not good. Okay, so this is one dimension that we're worried about. The other one's length. I got a wheel shock now, so I should be able to creep forward, and we'll see. Maybe I'll roll my window down too, so I can poke my head out. Here goes nothing. My giant carpentry channel. That's the stuff. On the job. It feels really close. Not that light. We're in. Whoa, the clutch. Okay, that was a little more aggressive than anticipated. Okay, so we cleared that. We are gonna have to get every inch. Let's go look at the front and see how bad it is. So here's where we're at now. You can see the door track is here. So we're not closing the door right now, but I don't think we're as far forward. Oh, okay. See, I punched the garbage can. This is a movable object. I don't know if we're doing it with the front bumper on. If I take this off, I get more, but I lose a walking path. All right, here's what I think my plan is. I'm gonna go ahead and dive under here and pull this front bumper off, and then I'm gonna push the truck forward as far as I can. I can move all that stuff too. It doesn't have to be sitting there on the floor. And then the goal is, if we can just get the door to close, when I work on it, as long as I leave it a roller, I can push it back a bit. I don't care if it gets rained on or whatever. I'm just trying to not get rained on. All right, so I rolled it back a bit so I can get at these bolts. They appear to be 3/4. There's 6 total. 3 on each side. They're up here. I sprayed them with coil too. The interesting part is they engage this like front spring shackle hanger dealio, but this is also riveted, so I'm confident enough that I can take those out. A big impact on the outside, a wrench on the inside. I'll probably grab gloves just in case it comes all at once. And, we'll see what happens. I've got the gun on the I'm not asking mode. Well, that one did come out. It just got really heavy on my body. You guys are in danger. Okay, this is sitting on the stands. All right, it rolls pretty easy, so I'm just gonna push it until I hear crunchy noises. Coming at ya. This is going to be a problem. I might have bitten off just a touch more than I could chew, but look at back here. The door will close. What I'm going to do now is close the door and roll it back as far as I can. Look at all the room. So here's where we're at. There's no room to walk in front. And there's no room to walk behind. Perfect. So to get from the house to the other side requires the door to be open. Don't love that. All right, up here, this is my socket drawer, so I'm in and out of here a bunch. That's as far as I can open it, which I mostly use 3/8 stuff. That's right here. I could get by with that. Okay, excuse the compressor in the background, but I've got an idea. Let me tell you what it is. So, I still kind of like the service bed, but we're never going to be doing any towing with this rig or anything like that. So, I think I'm going to take this off. Here, back here, that should all just drop off. It's kind of, it's thick plate, but I don't know that it's welded super great. Oh, there we go, finally. It looks like at one point this pin rocked down and maybe you can pull this out. Maybe I'll hit it with a hammer first and see. But my plan is to remove this. That would let us get back this much more and put a flat surface, which is not as likely to punch through my garage door. It's also a really good excuse to play with fire while my wife is gone. Because I've got, the old Cutmaster 30. Now, to be honest, I've used this thing like twice. I have one tip. It's old, probably not in great shape. I don't really know how to use it. But I'm thinking it should help remove that piece. I know nothing about the settings, and I guess it's just an amp knob. It's way too small to do this 1/2-inch plate, so I'm gonna probably crank it all the way up and see if breakers blow and make sparks, and then either work and we'll sit out here, have a beer on Firewatch, or it won't work and we'll sit out here and have a beer on Firewatch. Here we are. We got a fire extinguisher on standby, got some gloves, safety glasses. I think what I'm going to do first is try to make this cut. Whoa. You hear that? I think we are stress relieving. I was going to cut here, but I think I'm just going to come across here for the tops of these notches, and this whole piece should drop out. We're going to draw a line right here, and then this thing should start to fall down. Is anything on fire yet? Alright, well, we've got some separation. I think now we might be able to do that. Look at that beautiful cut. Couldn't do her any straighter if you used a ruler, I'll tell you. Alright, with our new mod, this is how much space we have up front, which is, if I move some stuff, it's totally walkable. And then out back, we're tight, but we're in, the door's down. Good morning. It's the next day. Now that we've cut the truck apart a little bit to fit it in here, I would like to spend a little bit of time looking at the wiring and see if the factory stuff is okay, or if we need to make some sort of patch harness situation, which I'm really hoping we don't have to. And the idea is to get at least brake lights. I have a new brake light switch. This is the old one. Doesn't work no more. But it'd be nice to like check for both, like eventually it'd be nice to have headlights, running lights, marker lights, turn signals, that sort of thing. I'm not gonna get crazy. I don't really care about like the blower motor, stuff like that. But I would like to know how the power moves through the truck and if it is still working. Now remember, this truck was originally 6 volt, which means this wiring should be able to handle 12 volts no problem if it's in good shape, because as your volts go up, your amps go down. So we will actually be putting less amperage through the factory wiring than it would have in 1950, if it's in good shape. It's got cloth insulation and it's probably not in the best shape. So we're gonna have a look and we'll go from there. Got it in here. My prop rod setup is sketchy at best, but I got the anti-guillotine strap going on, which is patent pending. So if there's an earthquake, I don't think I'll lose my head. What we're gonna do first is kind of exploratory. Now these 2 wires originally connected down to the positive post on the starter. And I think this heavy gauge one is kind of where the truck gets all of its power for like lights and stuff. This one might be coil, might have used to have been coil. So I'm gonna start by tracing these and just kind of see where they go. Now, if you remember, we changed the wiring on the ignition switch, so it's wired direct to the coil and the fuel pump. We may have to undo some of that if we need to use this again, but first things first, I think we just need to figure out where these used to go and go from there. So that bundle of wires is right here. It's only 2. This is wrapped in electrical tape. I don't know if that's factory. These obviously are not. But they pop through the firewall right here. So I'm gonna dive inside and see if I can't figure out where those used to go, because I assume they're gonna have to come back out at some point. All right, so I've been staring at this wiring diagram here, which is for 5051 trucks. Right here where my finger's pointing is that big 10 gauge natural color red tracer wire that used to be connected to the battery. Okay, see this? It does in fact look like that's where everything pulls its power from, and it goes directly to the ammeter, which makes sense because it's carrying a bunch of amps. Then it jumps off to here, goes to the voltage regulator, but it also branches and goes to what looks like what they're calling the light switch. I don't know if our light switch works, but I think what I'm going to do is hook that 10 gauge back up to 12 volts, blow the amp meter up, but then check and see if we have 12 volts at this fuse block, because that fuse block is only for the stop and the tail lights. If we got voltage there, that's good news. We can put our switch in and we can probably get voltage back to the tail. All right, we got that hooked up. Now we're gonna hook up 12 volts and look for smoke. So now we have that wire hooked up right here. So it's getting 12 volts. So according to my diagram, it looks like there's a 14 gauge natural wire with a red tracer that needs to be connected to the ignition switch that we disconnected when we kind of rewired it ourselves, if you remember that. And that's gonna, from this diagram, which is a little bit hard for me to read and I'm not an electrician, that appears that it is what supplies power to what they're calling the light switch, which is where all the lights terminate: head, tail, park, dome, stop. That is not connected on ours right now. It's actually broke off. So I'm gonna try to strip that back and get it connected somehow, even if it's just temporarily with like an alligator clip, and then check for voltage again. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but up here where my finger is pointing is that wire. I've got it alligator clipped, and then the other end of that clip goes over to one of the posts on the ignition switch. Now the battery's disconnected, but when I hook it up and turn the key on, I should get 12 volts here, which I think is gonna get us 12 volts here at our light switch, which is frozen, but I don't think that matters for brake and tail. That wouldn't make any sense to have that switch pulled out to have brake lights, because like you drive during the day, you don't have your headlights on. Big news, that wire was the key, pretty sure. With it connected, even temporarily, and the key turned on, we come out here to this fuse block, which is not complicated. One of these fuses I believe is blown, but that doesn't matter, because what's important is this is for the stop and the tail lights. These are the connectors, and with the key on, I have 12 volts here, which is great news, because that means we can put the brake light switch in, and then when that switch closes, it's gonna send power back to the brake light. So I think what we're gonna do now, since we know that wire is important, we're gonna make that a little more permanent, because I can't leave that alligator clip hanging in there. Get that taken care of, then we'll put the brake switch in, and then we'll follow those wires back to the taillights. So I made this little jumper basically. I'm gonna connect this butt splice to the factory wiring, and then this ring will go to the ignition switch, and that will take the place of my alligator clip in a little more permanent fashion. Okay, battery's on, keys hot. We should have voltage. Yeah. So here's our new brake light switch. Notice that one moves. This one doesn't. If you remember, we busted the screws off in this thing. They're 1032, and I don't keep a lot of 1032 in stock, but I had a couple and they're just miles long. So they work. I'm gonna cut them on the bandsaw, I think. And then this mounts to the firewall somehow. Must go like that. And then we'll check this. I'm not sure if it's normally open or normally closed, but first things first, I'm gonna trim a couple screws. All right, so I have my meter hooked up in beeper mode. And how this must work is at rest like that, the circuit's complete. Holding the lever back against the spring opens it. So how this must work is you put the brake pedal in front of this arm, so as you depress the pedal, the lights come on. When the pedal returns, they go off. You see where I have this screwdriver sticking out, right where my finger is? That is one of the holes that the brake light switch engages, and this rod here, oops, and then this lever that I'm moving with my finger right now is the brakes, or the brake pedal. So I think how this works is this switch goes like this and gets held back, goes on the firewall side of the pedal, which is going to hold it back and close it. And then as the pedal depresses, that's coming forward. This is you're not applying the brakes. You push on the brakes, and that opens, and that sends voltage to the taillights. That is how we're going to install it. So I've got the brake switch installed down there, and I have it hooked up to beeper mode on my meter. So now, when I reach down and work the pedal, my rod with my finger, we should hear it beep. Okay, perfect. That's great news. That means the switch is working. We know we have power to the switch terminals. So what we got to do now is keep on keeping on, tracing her back. So we're going to hook the battery up again. This will only work with the key on, and then press the brake pedal and see if we have brake lights. My suspicion is the bulbs probably are bad, but we can pop the lenses off and at least check to see if 12 volts is getting back there. Well, we got everything hooked up. electrically, I'm gonna use this old piece of jack handle to wedge the brake pedal down, I thought. We'll turn the key on. Hopefully that's enough. We'll come back here. Now this doesn't mean anything that both of those are out. We could just have bad bulbs, which is very likely. All right, so right here are the wires that run to this taillight housing. They're real suspect, and it's even more suspect if you go under there. But for starters, I'm gonna untape all this. We may even just give her a snip at the butt connector. How are these connected now? It goes from blue, two light blues, mind you, to black to red, to double oranges, which may have been red at one point in time. If these are just twisted together, oh no, there's solder on them. That's good though, I can measure that point. I won't have to cut anything. Okay, so I'm just alligator clipping into this dirty, old, nasty solder. And then I gotta go turn the key on and see if we have 12. And we absolutely do not. As you can see, we're not reading anything. No voltage. Okay, so here's where I'm at. The wiring back to these taillights is hammered. It's been modified 2, 3, 4 times, I'm not sure. All that I need is to get 12 volts back here and ground the taillights to the frame, basically. That will work, because that switch works. So it comes off the one side of that switch back to here. That's all we need. Instead of chasing all this stuff down, I think what I'm gonna do is redo it. And I bought some 4-inch round LED trailer lights. White is ground. One of these is like stop, bright. The other's tail, running. I'll just leave that wild for now because we're not there yet. I think they flame cut those holes, but let me try to get those surrounds out. See if we can't put these in and just run our own wire. It's got to come one back, jump to the other, ground them both, and then I can cut all that old stuff out, and I think we're going to be better off for it. Now, if I can get, oh, that one might just come out. If I can get these surrounds out, which I will, even if I have to cut them out, I think we can do some sort of backyard fab to get those new LED taillights in here. Even if we have to modify the bracket and attach it somehow, we have the technology to do so. How long is that? Okay. Junk. So I've been thinking about this for a while, how to mount our taillights. And I think what I've decided, since this is going to be somewhat permanent, I traced the bracket. I think I'm actually going to cut this out. And then I'm going to flush that bracket up and just kind of put it in here. So I took and ground off all the old powder coat so this will rust up and kind of match. Laid it in there. I also welded a stud down here that'll act as our ground for our taillight. And I think I'm going to carefully just sneak up on this on both sides, cut it out, then flush this piece in and weld it in. And that will be how we get our taillights mounted, and that will convert this flame cut garbage hole to a standard 4-inch light that you could buy anywhere for any trailer. The curve's going to be a little challenging. So we got this one roughed out, and this is basically what we're thinking, is we'll flush mount this bracket, weld all the way around, and then we'll have a nice round hole for our light. So I'm going to leave that one just kind of hanging in there with magnets for now and go cut the other side, and then we will tack this in and finish weld it. It's burning off rust and probably lead-based tractor paint. All right, we got them both welded up. But now we're going to take the flap wheel to all the welds and just kind of smooth that out and attempt to make them look like they were always there. Okay, there we go. That's going to be our finished look. These will obviously rust up over time and start to match better and better. Now that all that's done, this way tomorrow morning when it's early and I want to start, I can focus on pulling wire back and wiring these things instead of cutting and grinding and having to wait until my neighbors are awake. We will be back first thing in the morning, pulling a hot 12 volts back to our brand new taillights. Good morning. It's the next day, early, but the plan is to get 12 volts back to the taillights today. I could take it right off the switch, but I'm going to try to avoid that. I would like to try to figure out where that wire goes, the factory wire. It's been spliced into for blinkers. From what I could tell, this truck originally didn't come with blinkers. It's got some aftermarket stuff on it. That's that like red, blue, yellow wire that are just kind of hanging out, look really out of place. I'm pretty sure that's all related. So we're gonna dive underneath and see if we can't figure out where that stuff goes. I would eventually like to get the blinkers working again. So if that stuff is already kind of there, it might be worth just taking a minute and trying to figure out how it's ran. Welcome to the bottom side here. I'm pretty sure one of these two wires is the wire we're after coming off the brake switch. So I've got my meter and I've got one end of one probe connected to I took the wire off the switch, I got it connected up there. And then I'm gonna probe these two and see if we have continuity, and that way I'll know which one's which. And hopefully it is one of them, because then we can start our wiring from here instead of up there. And then we don't have to mess. This is that stuff that I believe is blinker related. And we're gonna kind of ignore for now. But let me try to find the ends of these. Okay, nothing. Oh, this one's full of dirt. Gross. This might not work. Hold on. Oh, okay. The one with the funny connector, the other end connects to the switch. So we know we can cut this connector off, because I don't know what sort of male end it uses. But that's definitely it. Now we know from here, this will have 12 volts when we press the brake switch. And all we need to do is get from here to the back and do some sort of crossover so we can get 12 volts to both sides. Now that we know where we want to grab our power from the front, I think we're going to worry about the back. White is ground, which we have a stud for that already. And then the red one is bright, so that'll be brake. This will be running. We're not going to be able to do anything about running lights right now, but we're just going to leave it kind of back there. We may need some of that for turn signals, but we also might end up just redoing all this. Or throwing gang signs when we want to turn, I don't know. But basically there's a couple holes in the frame that are the right size to sneak my loom through, which is going to help us keep everything up out of harm's way. All right, so we're back under here. This wire is what we're after, and it turns out this black molded piece is actually like one side kind of a spade connector. Like, see this one here? So I think this spade will go in there and engage. Yeah. So that'll be our connection, which is actually nice. We use the factory connector. So this red wire is going to be our 12 volts, and we need to carry this all the way down to the end. Okay, this is here. All right, so I didn't have a T-tap, but I made my own by bolting 3 ring connectors together and then applying a liberal amount of liquid electrical tape. It's a little bit hokey, but I think it's going to work. All right. The brake pedal is depressed right now, battery's on. As you can see, we got no lights. Now, I did a little troubleshooting already. I have 12 volts at the switch, but at the connector underneath the truck, I've only got like 5.5, 6 on a good day. So I'm thinking that wire, or at least part of it, it's not all the way broken because we're getting a little bit, but it might be so old and crunchy it just has huge resistance and we can't get 12 all the way back through it. I think my first step is I'm going to cut the factory connector off. It was full of like mud. Test again, strip it, test again. See if we have 12 there. If we don't, I'm going to go ahead and just pull a new wire. Battery's on, brake pedal's depressed, which means we should have 12 here, and we actually do. So maybe that connector was just bad. So I'm going to crimp just the other end of the spade on that, and I'll connect those. All right, I'm by myself, so you guys tell me if you got light back there when I hit the key. Oh, actually I have the pedal press, so I'll be able to see too. Oh yeah, I can see them in my truck. Look at that, those are bright. Now I'm gonna come off the pedal, and they should go off, right? Perfect. Let's see how far we have to depress it to get light. Oh, not very far. I can see it in my reflection of my black truck. Right on. We got brake lights. Okay, I'm gonna go back under and tape that connection a little better just so it doesn't get water in it, but that is big news. The last thing to do, just a little bit of paint match here. So we're gonna go ahead and get all this raw metal wet. No idea what was on this brush before. Perfect. My favorite kind of painting. All right, so we got brake lights, which was the goal, and that goal is complete. I kept saying the whole time, we're not gonna worry about running lights. We're not gonna worry about running lights. I'll show you why. Now's the time that I show you why. I really want to, but let me show you what's stopping us from doing that. In here, this switch right here is what they call the light switch. You pull it out to activate headlights, low beams, high beams are on the floor, turn signals, dome light, all of that. Well, turn signals are up here, but all the power for all the lighting circuits run through this switch. My problem is my switch is frozen. You can see this little oil stain here. I've been spraying it with penetrating oil every time I walk by, which has been like a week. It is still frozen and I'm worried I'm gonna bust it off. I ordered another one. It's not here yet. And still have a problem because to get this out, you gotta pull the shaft out to get to this little ring, which is like a nut. I may spend a little bit of time prying on this, but I wanted to make sure the brake lights work first because if I bust this switch, the power for them also run through it, and I didn't want to create a problem to where we couldn't test. I need to free this switch up. I bet we get power to the other places or close because I know I have power to this switch. I just can't get it out to test for any of that. So I'm really trying to avoid breaking this switch off, but I'm wondering if I could use this thing to maybe give it a little help. I just crawled underneath, sprayed some penetrating oil on it, got all over my face and mouth, which was fantastic. It is in there. Before you go, I know about the button, okay? The button doesn't make a difference either. I can feel it and I can push it. I'm pushing the button, which if you guys don't know, ow. Give me my hand back. There's a button underneath that you press and it lets you pull the stem all the way out. That is step one for removing this, because then the knob comes off and you can unscrew this little nut trim piece deal. Even without pressing the button, this should pull out like that one to turn the headlights on. I can't. Oh, it's moving. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. This is big news. Let's hose her down now that we got a little movement. Do I dare push it back in? Oh yeah, rocking her back and forth. Oh, it just came out a lot farther. More lube. Oh, just rust is coming out everywhere. We got her going now, boys. Oh, should probably be careful. So I think one is running lights. 2 is headlights. This is exciting. What that means now is we can run our tail lights, which would be this position and this position, and we could check for headlight power and order up some 7-inch rounds. I don't have those. They're kind of expensive, and I didn't want to buy them until I knew I had the voltage up front. Now that I got this thing moving, I'm feeling pretty good about myself, actually. All right, so we got the key on. This fuse here we know is good because that's the brake light side. I'm gonna pull that knob out one click. If that switch is working, we should get power there, which we do. Okay, awesome. So pulled out one. That also means we should, oh my God, we should have marker lights. Look at that. Do we have 2 of them? No way. They have 12-volt bulbs? Wild. Okay, now if I pull it out again, those go off, and that should be headlights, and obviously we don't have those. Now why do those go off? We should still have power here. We do. Interesting. Let's push this back one. I cannot believe that those just work. They should blow instantly, unless somebody's converted them to a 12-volt bulb, which kind of looks like what they did in the back, but this thing still has a 6-volt generator in it. More questions than answers. But that's good news. We got running lights. We need to get the backs working now. All right, guys, check this out. Ready? We got a headlight. Can you believe it? To be honest with you, and it's a high beam only, which is weird. So that means the switch on the floor works. I had 2 headlights. This one burned out immediately. I'm really surprised that one hasn't burned out yet. So I'm gonna keep going. We know we have marker lights. We don't have any low beams. We have a high beam. I've driven worse than that. This thing is damn near legal. Okay, here's the deal. I'm dumbfounded that this stuff is working, but I'm also excited. I think what we need to do now, we know we have brake lights. We know we have running lights in the front. We don't have running lights in the back because we didn't wire them because we thought, why would we do that? There's no chance in hell they'll work. We were wrong. So I think right now we're gonna find the running light wire and run a new wire back here so we have running lights. And then we need to work on the front, pull the headlight surrounds out, pull the headlights out because we have one that's working. I want to see if they're 12 or if they're 6. Okay, update on taillights. Turn this on, I'll show you. Taillights is this fuse here. They're actually on right now. Notice how it comes out the bottom and it ties into this red wire. That red wire is one of the ones that runs all the way to the back that we almost cut out earlier, and I'm so glad we did not. And it terminates right there. With the running lights on, I got 12 volts of that bad boy. So all we got to do is build another little 3-way connector, splice into the black, which is brown, on our new LED taillights, and we should have them as well. We're all connected, so if we did that right, turn the key on, pull that out 1 notch, we got light in the front. We should have, look at that, running lights in the back. And now, let's just double check, when I press the brake pedal, those get brighter. I can tell from here that they are. Perfect, we're legal back here. But outside of license plate lights, but who cares about those? Rear running lights work, front running lights work. One thing that I think is a little weird, and I'm not sure if it's how it's supposed to be or not, is when you turn your headlights on, the front marker lights go out. The rears stay on in both high and low beam. So I don't know if that's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't really seem like it, and I'm not sure why. The front and rear marker lights get their power different ways, so I'm gonna have to investigate that a little bit. So I have it pushed back a little bit, and we're going to investigate a couple curiosities of mine. I think long term, which actually might end up short term now that these work, these would look so killer if they were orange, amber, instead of clear. Okay, that is actually glass. Wow, the gasket's in pretty rough shape. Oh, bad idea. Okay, well, that's still got cloth wiring going to the socket. I can't read the numbers on this. I don't know how to tell, but it's working on 12 volts. They're pretty bright. The next thing I want to look at is the headlight, and I believe these are supposed to have a screw at the bottom, which this one doesn't, and then like a little tab, and you kind of pull it out. Yep. Okay, let's get a closer look at this grossness. Look at all the bugs in there. Wow, disgusting. I think I need a shop vac. And then the light looks like it's just held in by 1, 2, 3 or 4 flatheads. I wonder if those are gonna come out. There we go, it broke off. Okay, well, who cares? We'll need new hardware. Unplug this. Oops. Well, that was the one that was burnt out anyway. God damn it. I should probably put the gloves on. The headlights in this truck are real glass. You gotta be extra careful with them because if you drop them, they will shatter. All right, we got our mess cleaned up. One thing of note, this one is a GE, General Electric brand. The other was a Westinghouse. When I pulled the lights on for the very first time, it lit up for maybe 3 to 5 seconds and then went out. I'm assuming it burned out. So I'm assuming it was a 6-volt bulb. And this light has a high beam, it doesn't have a low beam. If I can get it out without breaking it, we can maybe look at the back and see. Look at all this. One headlight bucket's worth. I'm not going to go LED on these, I don't think, unless I could find one that looks like this. I don't want it to look like the front end of a Wrangler, you know, with the, where you can really see the LEDs. I think it looks dumb. I think it looks dumb on a Wrangler. I think it'd look really dumb here. So if I have to just buy sealed beam like halogens, I will do that. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of TYGR's Garage. We made a ton of progress. We got brake lights, we got taillights, we got half a headlight until I broke one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.